Hi, my name is Todd Carswell, and I'm a solutions engineer here at Zoom. Purpose of this session is to walk you through an example for agent skills-based routing within Zoom Contact Center. First off, we need to set the table by looking at the elements that have already been configured prior to this lesson. First off, I've got my contact center initially created with a supervisor and two agents. Yvonne is my supervisor, Ace and Jeff are my agents. I've already created two different call queues, one for operations and one for service desk. I've also pre-recorded my IVR greetings, and those are set up and configured within my call flows. And I've already created initial call flow without any skills mappings. So we're going to walk through there and update the existing configuration to layer in skills-based routing. So here are the elements we're going to be configuring in this lesson. We're going to start with proficiency-based skills for operations and service desk. What that allows you to do is you can set more proficient agents at a higher level so that they're going to receive calls first, and others can be backups for other call queues. There's also text-based skills. This is a skill you either have or you don't. Okay, so for language, I'm going to layer in some language skills here for Spanish and Tagalog. You either speak that or you don't in my contact center. And so we're going to be looking at those text-based skills. I'll assign those skills to agents. I'm going to create some routing profiles and then assign those to my existing call queues for service desk and operations. And then I'm going to go into my call flow editor and update my widgets to map skills. Okay, so that's just setting the table here. Now, first off, I just want to identify a best practice here when you're working with contact center configurations. You need to start with your high-level design, whether you're updating an existing contact center or creating one from scratch. You need to start with a high-level description of what you're trying to do with your contact center. And part of that high-level design is going to include a call flow diagram. So when you create your call flow diagram, you need to ask yourself, how do I want to, what number am I going to call to reach this? Do I want to do message of the day? Do I need to do time of day routing in my contact center? What IVR menus do I need to create, and what are the greetings going to, how are those going to be played out? So I'll record greetings, and I use my call flow diagram to make sure I've recorded all the appropriate greetings. And then finally, what skills are we going to apply to the contact center? And you're seeing the diagram here of my contact center for this example. And what we're going to end up with after this lesson is completed is, we entered our call flow. We're going to do a message of the day and a time of day check. All of this has been pre-configured. We're not going to touch any of that, but I'm going to touch my main IVR greeting, my main IVR menu. I've got options for Spanish and Tagalog languages. And I've also got, hey, if you just need to be routed to operations or service desk, those are options 3 or 4 from the main menu. And in each category, I'm going to apply skills. In the case of operations and service desk, I'm going to apply proficiency-based skills. So from my entire pool of agents in operations or on my service desk, those are all English speakers. I'm going to apply proficiency-based routing. So the higher proficiency agents will get calls first, okay? The text-based is language skills. So if they, just to give an example, if a caller presses option 1, they're going to be routed to the Spanish IVR menu, and they'll be presented with options 1 and 2, and that is operations and service desk. But the difference is once they exit the IVR menu and we route them to the operations queue, we're going to be tagging that call with either the Spanish language prompt or Tagalog, okay? And no matter what, callers are going to end up with operations or service desk. It's just going to, the difference is going to be what skills are going to be tagged on with that call, okay? So again, this is a best practice. Start with a high-level design, whether you're editing an existing or creating from scratch. Now, this is what my call flow script looks like that I've already pre-created. You call this phone number here, you get a message of the day, there's a time of day check. If it's during business hours, you're going to reach the main IVR menu. And I've got options for Spanish, Tagalog, operations, service desk, and voicemail. And I've got 2 additional IVR menus for Spanish and Tagalog. From the main menu, if I'm an English speaker and I select operations or service desk, I'm going to be routed to those call queues, and my proficiency-based skill is going to be applied for either operations or service desk. Now contrast that with our text-based skill. The main IVR menu here, I press 1, I'm going to hit the Spanish IVR. I'm either going to go to operations or service desk, but the difference here is upon exit, I'm going to apply the Spanish language skill before sending over to operations or service desk. Same thing for Tagalog. Okay, so that's the setup. And now here are the agent skills that I want to assign. And this is what we're going to walk through in this lesson. So Ace Ventura, he's going to be primary on my service desk. So I'm going to assign him a proficiency level of 5. He's going to be a backup for operations. So I'll give him a proficiency level of 3. And he's a Spanish speaker. For Jeff, he'll be primary on operations, secondary on service desk, and he speaks Tagalog. Okay. So let's get now into the configuration demo. Stopping the presentation, I'm going to move over to my Zoom Contact Center configuration. So I'm an admin here on my sandbox. I'm going to Contact Center Management. And the first thing I'm going to do is set up my proficiency-based skills. Okay. So I've already got 2 users set up here. I'll show you that real quick. I've got multiple, but the 2 we're messing with are Ace Ventura. But Ace Ventura, he's already been configured as a member of both the service desk and the operations, and I haven't assigned any skills. Okay, Jeff Bridges is also configured for those same contact center queues. So let's go to skills now. We're going to configure proficiency-based skills. So I have no skills created, so I just create, let's create a skill category, and I'm going to start with service desk. This is going to be a proficiency based, and I'm going to set this max proficiency level of 5. This allows you to put varying options of agent skills. Okay, so I've just created the category. I'm going to save and add skills, and I only need a skill called service desk here. So I'm just going to type that skill name and hit enter, and that creates it. I click save. So now my service desk category and skill is created. It's not configured for any routings yet. So now let's go ahead and add another skill category for operations. This is going to be proficiency based as well. And I will select max proficiency level of 5, save and add skills. And the skill name here is just going to simply be operations. I click save. So I've got my 2 proficiency based skills created. Now I need another skill category for text-based, and this is going to be non-English languages. This is text-based. It's either on or off. So now I'm going to save and add skills. Now within non-English languages, I'm going to have multiple skills here, and you'll see how those are applied later. So this is going to be Spanish. I hit enter, and Tagalog. I click save. So now I've got my skills created. I'll let you consume that for a minute here. I've just created the skills. I have not yet applied those. Next step is we're going to assign those skills to the users. And let's go back to our, again, this would be in your high-level design. You could list out your agents and what skills they're going to be configured with. So I'm going to go to Ace Ventura, and I'm going to assign the appropriate levels for service desk and operations, and I'm going to assign the language of Spanish to him. Okay, so let's go to Ace. He'll be primary on service desk. So I'm back in contact center management. I click on users. I go to Ace Ventura here. He's already configured for his call queues. Now I'm just going to assign the skills to him. He's a Spanish speaker, and he's also a member of operations and service desk. Service desk, he'll be primary. Operations, he'll be a backup there. Okay. So now Jeff Bridges, he's going to be primary on operations, secondary on service desk, and he speaks Tagalog. So we'll go back to our user account here. And before I leave Ace, I'm going to save. Let's go to Jeff Bridges now. I can see he's already a member of service desk and operations. I'm going to assign him some skills. So he's going to be a Tagalog speaker. He'll be a member of operations and service desk, primary on operations, skill level 5, and skill level 3 for service desk. Okay, so there we go. I scroll to the bottom and I save the user account now. Okay. So I've added my skills. So next up, I'm going to create my routing profiles and apply them to the call queues. Okay. So I'm back in contact center management. I go to routing profiles. And I only need a couple of profiles here. Okay. First off, I'm going to start with adding an agent profile. I'm going to type a name for it, and this one's going to be for my service desk. I save that. And now I need to add skills or priorities here. Okay, so I'm going to click add priority. Priority one is going to be my proficiency based skill for service desk. And what you can see now I'm layering in additional categories here. Okay, so I've got my service desk agent routing profile. My first priority is skill category of service desk. And I'm going to set a minimum proficiency of 3. Okay. And I'm going to make this required because what this does, and I'll hover so you can see what it means. So if a skill category is required, then the agents have to have that corresponding skill or they won't be considered for assignment. They won't receive any calls. Now there's a difference now when we start looking at my skills-based routing or my language skills. I'm going to select non-English languages. And in this case, it depends on the agent, what skill they have, right? I just have to have one of those non-English languages in my contact center. So I select non-English languages, and I'm actually not going to make this required because what that means is if I made this a requirement, I would not select any agents unless they had some sort of language skill applied, okay? So that's my service desk, and here are my priorities. And I'm just going to click save on that. I need to create an agent profile for my operations queue now. Just going to name it operations. I click save. And then my first priority is going to be my proficiency based operations skill. And I'm going to make this required, and my minimum proficiency is 3. Next, just like my service desk, I'm going to choose non-English languages. It's not going to be required because I want to be able to select from all candidates, all agents, whether they speak English or non-English languages, whatever the case, okay? So we're clicking save here. So now I've got my 2 routing profiles. So next up, I've got these profiles created. I need to apply the routing profiles to my queues. So I'm just going to navigate over to my queues now. And I'm going to start with the operations queue. So again, these are pre-created, and I'm just going to layer in some skills here. So I go to my operations queue. I'm going to scroll down to my agent routing section, and I'm going to select now. Again, let me back out. So this is my operations queue. So I need to select the operations routing profile. You can only select one here. So if you select one, it's going to deselect the other. Okay, so I need operations, and I click save. And it's going to tell me, hey, this is going to affect your call flows. So I'm aware of that. And so now I'm going to repeat this for the service desk queue. So let's go back to the service desk or the queues and then click on service desk. And I'm going to select an agent routing profile. This is going to be my service desk. Okay. All right, so at this point, we've got proficiency-based routing for operations and service desk, and we've also got text-based routing for languages for both operations and service desk, okay? Next up, we're going to map those skills within our flow editor so that we can tag calls so that they get routed appropriately, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my call flow. So if you select flows here, you're going to find the call flow that you're interested in configuring. I've already got mine open here. So this is my contact center script with Spanish and Tagalog. Okay, so there are 3 collect input widgets in my queue. One is the main IVR. The second is Spanish IVR. And the third is Tagalog IVR. So these are the 3 that I'm going to be configuring here. So let's set up proficiency and text-based skills within the flow. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my main IVR. And when I'm going through here, I'm going to verify, okay, my IVR menu, I'm going to select, okay, audio prompt. What's the main audio prompt? I'm going to make sure I've selected the correct one. I may listen to it here as well, just to make sure that the appropriate options are mentioned in the greeting and make sure those match exactly what's set up in the main IVR, okay? Next step is I'm going to go to exits, and I've already configured all of my key press inputs here. So just be aware of that. So for key press input 1, I'm just calling that Spanish, and I'm routing to the Spanish IVR. Now at this point, I'm not going to map any skills because I'm going to do that from the Spanish IVR menu. Key press input 2 corresponds to Tagalog. Okay. And I'm going to update Spanish IVR here, just for sake of helping me out. So Tagalog IVR, I'm not mapping any skill here. I'm just saying, hey, your next widget is going to be the Tagalog IVR, which will be a greeting in Tagalog for options 1 and 2. Okay. Exit 3 now. Now we're talking about just English speakers. Key press input 3 corresponds to the operations queue. And now I'm going to start mapping skills. Okay. So I'm going to select my operations and operations for my map exit to skill. So that's my category and my skill. Option 4 is my service desk. I'm going to select my service desk category, and the skill is going to be service desk. Okay. So pretty straightforward, and I've got my main IVR configured. All right, next up is the Spanish IVR. I'm going to select that option. I'm going to check my audio prompt and make sure it's the correct one. And I may play that to make sure that it has the appropriate options here, okay? So I'm at my Spanish IVR. We're zooming out. Verified the prompts. I go to exits. And I've already configured key press inputs 1 and 2. Okay, so now we're in the Spanish menu. And I want to map now for both of my key press inputs 1 and 2. I want to select non-English languages, and my skill is going to be Spanish. And my next widget is going to be operations if they choose 1. So the difference here is I'm going to route to operations, and I'm going to tag the Spanish skill. All right, next up is service desk. I need to map in the map exit to skill category. I'm going to choose non-English languages, and I'm going to choose Spanish. Okay, so I've got Spanish and Spanish chosen. Okay. Next, I'm going to Tagalog. I can check my prompt here, but I'm going to click on exits. Key press input 1, I'm just naming that operations. I'm going to map to the non-English language skill, and I'm going to, or the category, and then I'm going to select the individual skill for Tagalog. Key press input 2, I'm so choosing non-English languages and Tagalog. Don't need to do anything else here. Okay, so that is everything I need to do now for updating my call flow or my script editor. Okay, so I'm going to save this. So now that I've updated my script, I need to save this and then publish it. So I'm going to save a draft. I can add a description or whatnot. And then the next item that comes up is publish. So I've saved it, but I have not yet published it. I'm doing that now. So now my edits have been applied to the flow so that all my appropriate skills are being configured. So, okay. So this is my contact center, and I've got everything configured now that I need to do. Now let's go back to our slides, and we want to set up the test environment. Okay. So let's just expand that so you can see what I'm going to do. So first thing I'm going to do, I won't bore you with that here on this video, but I'm going to go through and do configuration checks just to double check that all my IVR greetings match the flow menus. I'm going to check my skill categories and the skills that I've set up, make sure they're applied to the appropriate agents. And then I'm going to check my routing profiles, make sure they're assigned to queues. And then I'm going to start placing test calls. Okay. What I want to have is the call flow diagram at the ready. And I need to log into multiple agent accounts so that I can make sure that calls are being routed appropriately. Okay, so I've got the Zoom client logged in on multiple accounts, And what I do is I just write out the test scenario and the results I expect. Okay. And the first thing we'll test is, we'll dial in to the number for the call flow. I'm going to select option 1. It's going to route me to the Spanish IVR. And then I will select option 1, and it should route me to the operations queue. And I should reach the person that speaks Spanish in the operations queue. Okay. And that is going to be Ace Ventura. He speaks Spanish and he's in the operations queue. Proficiency based is not applicable here. So let's kill this. And I'm going to switch over now to a screen that shows you my test environment. Okay. So I'm configured here. I've got Jeff Bridges on the left and Ace Ventura on the right. And I'm going to open that up so you can see. So now I'm going to dial in to my contact center queue.
Thank you for calling. All systems are fully operational.
I selected option 1 for the Spanish queue. I'm selecting option 1 and I expect Ace Ventura to be selected. Accept my call. And I can see here that Ace Ventura is in fact selected. All right. So I kill that. And then I close out my interaction. I click done, and now I'm back at the ready. Now, if I call back in again, I'm going to do the same test, and I should be hitting the same agent. Selecting 1. Operations and Spanish speaker should be Ace Ventura. There we go. Ace was selected. All right, I close out this by setting a disposition. Now, next up, I'm going to select option 2 and then operations. And that should route me to Jeff Bridges. I want to reach the Tagalog speaker. And I'm going to select option 1 to go to operations. I should hit Jeff Bridges now. And I did, in fact, hit Jeff Bridges. So I'll do multiple calls on that. I won't bore you with it. But let's close that out. I selected disposition, and I'm done, and I'm back to my environment here. Okay, now I want to check proficiency-based routing. So I will dial into my contact center. And for proficiency-based routing, for the service desk, I should hit Ace Ventura every time, okay?
All systems are fully operational.
Selecting option 3, I should reach Jeff Bridges. There he is. So Jeff Bridges did receive the call. Dialing back in, and I'm gonna select, that was Tagalog, or I'm sorry, that was the operations queue, and that is Jeff Bridges' primary. Now I'm going to select the service desk queue, and I should be routed to Ace Ventura. So here we go.
Thank you for calling. All systems are fully operational.
Okay, so I'm going to select option 4, and I should be ringing Ace Ventura. And the test succeeded. Select my disposition and close out. Click done. Okay, let's get back over and we'll close out our session here. So what we've done is we've gone through the process of setting up a Zoom contact center and layering in some skills-based routing. And I hope this is helpful, and hope you have a great day.